Finish her! Finish her? I hardly know her. Hello, Champagne Dreamers! Welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, welcome. I don't know how you found me, but stick around. Hit that subscribe button, join the family. I am Janessa, and I am North Dakota's trash queen of glam, geek, and gore. And we are gonna geek out today. We are gonna geek out about Mortal Kombat. I have been playing Mortal Kombat since the very first game. Since the arcade game, back when we had arcades that weren't just like glory holes in porn stores or ticket machines. Like there were real arcades where you could play actual video games. I used to love it. I used to play Sonya Blade all the time. She was the only chick fighter. I have always loved female fighters, and you know what? Mortal Kombat is getting ready to launch their newest title. MK1. It is the 12th game in the series, but they're doing a little bit of reinvention, a little bit of reinvigoration, and I'm super excited about it. So if you want to know my top 10 favorite female fighters in Mortal Kombat, then stick around because we're getting into it right now. Alright, so I am a Mortal Kombat fan. I got back into video games because of Mortal Kombat. I used to play NES and Sega Genesis all the time when I was in high school. And then I went to college and I didn't really bring my game system with me and I kind of got out of it. And then I had a boyfriend for a while that had an Xbox. And there was a Mortal Kombat game, Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance. And that really brought me back into that fighting game fun gamer moment. I loved it. Because I am a little bit of a gamer, but it depends on the game. I hate first-person shooters. I'm no good at them. I always just end up trying to run everything, and I twist the camera up to the ceiling, and I just shoot the ceiling until whatever's coming after me just kills me. I cannot play first-person shooters. But I love fighting games, and I especially love Mortal Kombat. And I really love what Mortal Kombat has done with the story. I love a good story. Yes, I love to kick some ass. I love to do the awesome fatalities and brutalities and spill some blood. But I love the story mode, and I love the way that they've been doing that. And it looks like this new game, MK1, which is coming out in September, I love what they're doing with the storyline and the way that they are reinventing the whole timeline. So if you're an MK11 fan and you played that game, you know that Liu Kang, who's from the original game and has been pretty much in the whole series, he became the new fire god and the owner of the hourglass, and he has reshaped time. So all of these familiar characters are getting revamped and reinvented, and it's being released on all of the newest systems. This is going to be a little bit ridiculous. I even had to buy a new Xbox so that I could pre-order this game to play it when it comes out, because I had an Xbox One. It's only coming out on the Xbox X/S series. The naming of the Xbox is a whole other situation. I really love it. I am such a fan, and all these trailers that have been coming out just make me more and more excited. Now, in fighting games especially, I have always been drawn to the female characters. I love female characters. As a little queer boy, I didn't need more big butch men with aggression in my life. That was not my thing. So I was always drawn to the female characters. I loved what little representation there was. You know, there hasn't always been a lot, but Mortal Kombat has really brought in a lot of fun female characters. At this point, there have been 20 female characters over the history of the franchise. Now, it was easy to do a top 10 list because there are 5 that I'm just like, ugh, get rid of. And then there are 5 that I'm just like, I like these characters, but there's nothing in the story or nothing about the gameplay that has really kind of inspired me recently. So we're going to talk about all those, and then we're going to do my top 10. So first of all, the 5 characters that you can just get rid of. I hate the combat kids. So that was something that started with Mortal Kombat 9, where all of a sudden, like, Sonya Blade and Johnny Cage had a daughter, Cassie Cage, and Jackie Briggs, who's the daughter of Jax Briggs. I could not care less about the combat kids. There's like 4 of them that are just the kids of the older characters, and they're just ripoffs of the older characters. So I'm not interested in them at all. I don't need another Johnny Cage, another Sonya. Like, Cassie is just kind of an amalgam of the two, and I think that her personality is kind of obnoxious. I don't really care. Same with Jackie Briggs. They did some interesting things with her, but I don't care. And that's a similar sort of problem that I also have with Frost. She's just a female version of Sub-Zero, and Sub-Zero is such a standard character. It's not like they're ever going to leave him out of a game. And so having Frost is just like, oh, she's just another version of Sub-Zero, except female. It's just, I know that they can do different powers and different styles of gameplay, but it just feels like a watered down version, and I would rather have characters who are their own unique, fun character. The other 2 that we can get rid of, first of all, Scarlet. They've tried to do some interesting things with her, like the blood magic stuff, but if you don't read the comic books, a lot of that is left out of the games, and I don't think she's that interesting. I'm done with Scarlet. There was some potential there, but I just am not loving what they're doing. And finally, Kira. And that's how I feel, you know, across the board. We're only talking about the female characters, but the whole Red Dragon clan has been useless. That was such a misfire. So of course you've got Kano and Cabal and all the Black Dragon characters, and they kind of make sense because they're up against the special forces. I don't know why they ever decided to bring in this second, like, mercenary band. All of the Red Dragon characters are so forgettable, so pointless, and of the female characters, Kira is one of the Red Dragon, and I just could not be bothered to give a shit. Now, there are 5 characters that I'm just kind of lukewarm about, and a couple of them maybe could have made it onto this list, but I'm just not as excited about them as other characters, which includes Li Mei. So Li Mei was recently revealed for Mortal Kombat 1, and what they've done with her looks really cool for this game, but I was never really that interested in Li Mei's character. I did like that she sort of betrayed everybody for the Dragon King, and I really think that the Dragon King is going to end up being the big bad for this game. Everybody's like, oh, who's it going to be? Is it just going to be Shang Tsung again? And I'm like, they've left so many clues that it's going to be the Dragon King. I mean, his terracotta army shows up in one of the, like, trailers, the Lin Kuei trailer. That's clearly his terracotta army. General Shao is, like, not Shao Kahn anymore. He's just a general in the army. Shang Tsung is a playable character, and he seems to be involved with some of the shenanigans, but I think it's going to be the Dragon King. I mean, they've already announced that the currency in the game this time is dragon crystals. In the last game, Kronika was the mistress of the hourglass, and the currency in the game was time crystals or chrono crystals or whatever. I think it's clear that Dragon King is going to be the big bad. And if Li Mei does some sort of double cross, I will find that really interesting. They're trying to do different things with the characters, so I would love for her to be set up as this, like, good guy, and then to have her double cross everybody, because Tanya, who's always the deceptive double crosser, they're kind of setting her up to be a good character, and I hope they stick with that and have Li Mei be the double crosser. I'm excited, but not excited enough to put Li Mei on the list. Cetrion is not probably going to make it into the game unless she's a cameo fighter. The cameo fighters are kind of on the side. She was an addition to Mortal Kombat 11. She's fine. I'm just not that interested. I liked what they did with her, and I really liked the Cetrion gameplay. She was hard to get into, and she was hard to learn, but once you figured her out, she had some fun moves and some fun specials. But Cetrion, I'm like, I'm fine if she doesn't come back. That's okay. She was part of that whole Kronika thing and the Elder Gods, so she doesn't really fit with Time Lord Liu Kang's new world, so I'm okay if she doesn't show up. Now, Serena has already been leaked as being in Combat Pack 2. We'll see if that ends up being true. It has been shown in the last trailer that she is at least a cameo fighter. She was shown with Havoc in the most recent trailer that's come out as of this filming. And I just am not that interested. So I didn't really ever know much about Serena. She was in one of those offshoot games, one of the, like, Mortal Kombat mythologies. She was in the Sub-Zero version, and she was playable in Mortal Kombat Armageddon, but I didn't have any lore. I didn't really have any connection to her, so I'm just not that interested. I'm interested to see what they do with her, but she's not one of my top characters. Now, if I can be a little controversial yet brave at the gig, there are two characters that are on my meh list that I like to play a lot. I like their gameplay, and I know that they're fan favorites, but Sindel and Jade. I love Jade as a character. I love Jade as a gameplay character, but what they've been doing with her has been just kind of like, she's just kind of an add-in to the female ninjas. With Mortal Kombat 11, they gave her this relationship with Kotal Khan, and then it was like, who's she going to be loyal to, Kotal or Katana? And I just didn't care. And Sindel, I do like that they decided to make her evil. So she was kind of evil, but then it was revealed that she was brainwashed by Quan Chi, and she was really a good mother and was just trying to get back to her daughter and blah, 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 and all this kind of shit. And then in Mortal Kombat 11, they just revealed that she really is just evil, and she killed Jared, and it's this whole thing. I'm just not that interested in what they've been doing with her. I hope she's in the game. I hope she's playable, because Sindel, I do like that Banshee idea. I love Banshees in mythology, and so I love that they have a character that is based on Banshees with the screams, but in terms of a top 10 list, she just didn't make the cut. Sorry, Jade and Sindel fans. I do love both of them, and I actually play both of them quite a bit. In Mortal Kombat 11, Sindel was probably my second most used. I'm not going to tell you who my most used is, because it'll give away part of the list, but Sindel was like number 2. I use her a lot, and Jade is kind of a go-to as well. But enough fannying around. Let's get to the top 10. Let's talk about number 10. So in the number 10 spot, now I easily could have shifted her out and put in Jade or Sindel because I do like them. I had to put Sonya Blade in here because Sonya Blade is my OG. I have love for Sonya. I don't play her nearly as much, but when that first game came out, if you wanted to play a female character, the only option was Sonya Blade. And I loved her little kiss where she blew the pink kiss to kill them in the first fatality. And when I was playing in the arcade and I figured out how to do that overhead like leg split throw thing, that was so cool, and I loved it, and I was always trying to get away with it. I have so much love for OG Sonya Blade. Even if I don't play her as much, I don't love the gameplay, I don't love the like robot drone mechanics that they did with her and with Cassie. I'm just not as interested in the robotic military kind of stuff. When she was more just the martial arts, I was into it, but she is my first Mortal Kombat main character, so I have to give number 10 to Sonya Blade. Number 9 is a character that I don't know that I've ever really gotten to play very much. Chameleon, specifically the female version of Chameleon. So there's a long history with Mortal Kombat of the palette swapping. So the earlier versions of the game, there wasn't as much memory, there wasn't as much, you know, ability to have all these different characters and different movesets and all this kind of stuff. So they did a lot of what's called palette swapping. So in the very first game, you have Scorpion and Sub-Zero, which are the same body, the same sprite, the same avatar. One was coded in yellow and one was coded in blue. So they just swapped the colors. That way they could use the same base model, the same image of the person, and they used real people. They didn't use like drawn 8-bit animated avatars or anything. They used actual like motion capture of real people, but they could use the same actor to be Scorpion and Sub-Zero. So there's a long history of characters that emerge out of these palette swaps, obviously with Reptile turning the ninja green, and then there was the joke about Purple Rain. So the character Rain has now gotten his own look and his own sort of characterization, but he was originally just a palette swap of the male ninja with a purple outfit, the red for Ermac. There's been all these different sort of additions to the lore. And with the Chameleon characters, there have been these hidden characters that have all of the moves of either the male or female ninjas, and they were just called Chameleon. So Chameleon with a C was the male version, and never even really had much of a story, but the female version was supposed to be a Saurian, a member of Reptile's race. Well, Chameleon has been confirmed as a cameo fighter. She was featured, we think, in the Umgadi trailer, where they revealed Tanya and Li Mei. She seems to be standing in the background. But I am super excited to see what they do with Chameleon, because what they've done with Reptile, if you saw the Banished trailer, they've really built out the history of Reptile and his species, and so I think Chameleon is going to be a bigger part of the story than she's ever been before. So I'm mostly excited to see what they decide to do with her, if they give her a new moveset, how they build her into the story. So for me, it's more about the potential, and that's why Chameleon is in the number 9 spot. In the number 8 spot, DVorah. I actually think that DVorah is really cool. I know a lot of people hate DVorah. DVorah can be kind of a cheap fighter, depending on how people play her. I just think it's fun the way that they've been building out the different kinds of creatures and monster races that exist in Mortal Kombat. I also like Collector. So Collector was another one of the new characters, and he was the first of the Naknanen, who have 6 arms. So we have Shiva and Gore with the 4 arms, who are Shokan. Naknadan have 6 arms. And I love that DVorah is now this other race, this Chitin, which are these insect-based people. And I just think she's a fun, creepy, spooky character. I love that she has blue blood. I think it's fun whenever they change up the characters a little bit so that the blood and the gore effects are a little bit different. I always think that's a little bit fun. It's just kind of a goofy little thing to do. But I like DVorah. I love creepy monster movie type characters, and I think DVorah has been a lot of fun. I get the feeling she's not really going to be featured very prominently. I mean, there's been rumors that they're going to try to fit almost every character from MK ever as a cameo fighter, because the cameo fighters have a limited moveset, and with these larger, bigger sort of memories that they have on these newer generation systems, they can probably get more if they just have to build a very basic cameo moveset. But I don't know. We'll see if she shows up. If she does, my guess is it's only as a cameo fighter, but I do like her enough to put her in the number 8 spot. In the number 7 spot, Nitara. I hope that the rumors are true.
All the rumors are true, yeah.
Oh, it's an awkward time for a Lizzo reference. I love Nitara. She's a vampire. She was in Deadly Alliance, and she's this vampire character. She's got wings. She was in the Mortal Kombat movie, so clearly there's some love in the fandom for Nitara. The people from the studio love Nitara. They keep putting her in things. So I'm hoping she's going to make a comeback. Now, her outfit in the original game that she was in was so ridiculous. I mean, it's basically a spiked bikini with a leather bolero jacket, but ever since Mortal Kombat X, they've really been working on presenting the female characters in much more interesting, not so exploitative sort of outfits. I mean, they really sort of hit the peak in Mortal Kombat 9 when Mileena came out of the flesh pits and was just wearing bandages. I mean, come on now. So ever since that, they've been like, let's walk it back. Let's get rid of some of the, like, boobs that are barely held into a tiny string slingshot bikini. Let's make these a little bit more, if not realistic, at least a little bit more interesting and character-driven than just boobs on parade. So I'm hoping that Nitara will be there. Now, everybody is saying that she was sort of featured in some gameplay footage at one of the game cons. They showed an extended cutscene. It was from the Lin Kuei trailer where they're coming and everybody kind of looks off in the distance and there's this screech and everybody's saying that that's Nitara, that she's going to be featured in the story and that she therefore might be one of the characters that's on the base roster. They said they're going to be returning to more of the 3D era characters, so I'm really hoping that Nitara makes a list because she was a lot of fun. Even in her weird heavy metal spiked bikini era, she was fun to play, so I'm hoping that we see her in MK1. In the number 6 spot, we have Tanya. I loved the Umgadi trailer. I thought that Tanya looked amazing. I love that they're setting her up, at least in the beginning, to be a heroic character. Tanya has always been the most deceptive, the most backstabby of all these characters. She always backstabs whoever she's working with. She double crosses and double crosses again. So I would love it if she gets a moment where she just is on the heroic side and is just part of the heroic team, doesn't betray anyone. I would love that for her because she's also a bit of queer representation. So I forget exactly where they mentioned it. I think maybe in Mortal Kombat 9, but for sure in Mortal Kombat 10, they make mention of the fact that Tanya is in a relationship with Mileena, and they've brought that in, it seems, to MK1. The early bios for the character say that if anybody discovered this relationship that Tanya and Mileena have, that it would cause all this scandal. The Umgadi, who are warrior priestesses, they take a vow of chastity. And so it says if anybody knew about her relationship with Mileena, there would be scandal and upset. So clearly they're setting up that queer relationship between these two women, and I am here for it. I love her Afrocentric look that they gave her. A lot of people, white men, are upset about it and mad that she's got this more Afrocentric look, that she's not just the sex bomb Tanya that we've seen in the past. I love it. I think her look is so classy and beautiful. I think it really matches with what we've seen of the redesigns and really kind of taking MK in a different kind of direction. And I love her sort of jointed staff weapon. Now, for the Jade fans out there, that means that there's maybe a chance that unless they really change up Jade's gameplay, she's probably not going to make it into the game, or she'll just be a cameo player. Because if you're an MK fan, you know that Jade always fights with a staff. That's her signature weapon. So Tanya having this sort of jointed staff that kind of breaks down into like little nunchuck kind of things, but also can be used as a staff. Her gameplay has some similarities to Jade. So that really kind of speaks to the fact that maybe Jade isn't going to be a main playable character, which will be disappointing for some, but I love what they're doing with her. I think it looks really cool, and I hope she gets her moment to just be a hero. They're really trying to shake up the timeline and give people different stories and different opportunities, and I hope Tanya gets to live up to hers. In the number 5 spot, Shiva. I love Shiva. I hate Shiva. I'm frustrated by Shiva. What I like about Shiva is that she's a beast. She really goes against type for female characters in fighting games, because what they tend to do with female characters, a lot of it is based on these kind of stereotypes and this idea of men versus women, is that the female characters are less strong, but they'll be faster, and usually they're better with their legs than with their arms. So that's the kind of character that I like, because I'm not always very coordinated. I'm a little bit of a button masher. And so I like somebody who can come in, kick and twirl and do some shit and cause a little bit of damage and get the fuck out of there before they can reply. That's what I like. Shiva is the exact opposite. She's big, she's bulky, she drops in, and she's all arms. She's a Shokan, she's got 4 arms, and all of those arms are ready to pound the shit out of you. So I love it. It's hard gameplay for me because you have to get in close. And that weird fireball thing that she did, I kept activating it by accident, where she'd be standing there with the 4 fireballs, but then she's frozen unless you can figure out how to shoot them, or... that was a nightmare. I didn't like that, but I love Shiva. I hope she ends up in this game. Gore has been shown as a cameo fighter, so clearly the Shokan are still part of the story. They're still around. I hope we get to see some version of Shiva in this game as well. In the number 4 spot, Pharah. I am so excited that when they confirmed, so this was leaked a long time ago, but it was confirmed by NetherRealm after one of the big game cons that Pharah is going to be one of the cameo fighters in DLC Pack 1, so Combat Pack 1. Now, if you're a Mortal Kombat fan, you know that Pharah usually doesn't appear by herself. That character was actually called Pharah Tor. Pharah/Tor, because it was this little female character that was riding on top of this big brute of a man, and that was kind of their gig. They were like a symbiotic pair, and he would throw her, and she had these bladed arms and whatever, and now she's been confirmed to be on her own. So I am interested to see how they do that, because if you played through as Pharah Tor and got to her ending, her latter ending, you found out that part of what their sort of life cycle is that eventually Pharah started to grow, and Tor died, and she became the big beast, and then this other little person came along and rode on her back, and that became the new symbiotic pair. So I'm interested to see what they're going to do with Pharah. Are they just going to do away with that whole symbiotic pair? Is Pharah in some middle stage where maybe Tor has already died off and now she's in the process of growing into the bigger beast character? Is that change, is that evolution going to be part of how the character appears? Is she going to appear in story mode? I thought that character had a lot of interesting sort of potential in Mortal Kombat X, so I'm really excited to see what they do with her. I hope some of the cameo characters are going to be involved in the story, and some it seems like are not, and I really hope that Pharah is, especially since they're changing Pharah Tor to just Pharah. I hope that that is somehow explained and explored through the story, because I am super excited to get another chance, even if it's just as a cameo fighter, to play Pharah. In the number 3 spot, we have Katana. I love Katana. When Mortal Kombat 2 rolled out, I really wanted Katana to be my main because I love those fans. Drama. My little queer soul just loves a clacky fan, and so I love it. And you know what? For those of you who are old school arcade gamers from the 80s like me, if you ever played that game, Jaye Kung Fu, there were 2 female characters in that you played against. Star was one of the earlier ones. She was like the second or third that you would fight against. And she had throwing stars. And then there was Fan. And she had this sort of like sleek design. And she threw these red fans at you. And so even as a kid, I always thought that was so cool. I thought it was so interesting to have these fans as like a weapon. Because I always loved them because I thought they were sort of feminine and beautiful. But to have them as a weapon just was really cool. So when Katana showed up with those bladed fans, I was here for it. Now, I wasn't always very good with Katana. She was a little bit harder to master than other characters in the game, but I really did love Katana, and I like what they've been doing with her in the story. I don't love so much the romance with Liu Kang. That got to be a little bit much, so I'm glad that that doesn't seem to be as much of a thing. Now that he's gone to take care of the Hourglass, they're not as focused on that. And it seems like in the previews that they've shown, it looks like she doesn't remember him. As he's rebuilt the universe, he hasn't been a part of her life. I really love that they have made Mileena her actual sister instead of just a clone. And that Mileena is the one taking the throne, and Katana is like her general, is like her bodyguard. And the people like her better and they want her to rule, but she's loyal to her sister. So I really think that that dynamic is going to be very interesting. From all the previews that we've seen, it looks like that's going to be a big part of the story mode. That sort of Mileena's set to take the throne, but now she's, you know, got this Tarkat disease, which we're going to talk about in a little bit. I'm really interested to see how that family dynamic plays out. I love Katana. I love the fan. I love all the air effects that she can do, little mini tornadoes, and just different ways that they've used the fan to create really interesting gameplay over the years for Katana. In the number 2 spot, I have to give it up for my demon girl, Ashra. Now, when Ashra was in Deadly Alliance, I wasn't really that interested in Ashra as a character. She was just kind of recycling some moves. She had some kind of Raiden-esque moves. The design was interesting with that big dopey hat with the veil on it, so I wasn't really into her character design. But I did sort of like the idea of her as like a demon trying to cleanse itself of evil. And when they showed that Banish trailer, after they'd been kind of hinting that maybe Ashra was one of the 3D era characters that was going to come back, I love it. What they have done with her looks so cool. The character design for MK1 is top notch. I love that it's got some darker elements, but it's got this more angelic kind of look. That fatality that they showed in the Banish trailer against Havoc looks brutal and so well done. I am loving Ashra. So Ashra, that's not a long-standing love. I thought she was an interesting character, but she's this high on the list just because that is the character that I am most excited to play. But Ashra just looks so cool. So I had to give her the number 2 spot because when I think about what I'm most excited for in Mortal Kombat 1, I think it's playing Ashra because, you know, all the other characters that we know and love that we see every single game, I know they're going to be cool. I know they're going to come up with fun things for them. So I'm excited, but like Ashra, taking this character that hasn't shown up in like 12, 15 years, whatever amount of time it's been, and make her that cool, I am stoked. I'm hype. I'm here for it. And of course, I've dropped little hints, but my number one is Mileena. In Mortal Kombat 2, when they dropped the sisters, Katana and Mileena, but Mileena had that mask covering up the Tarkatan face. I loved it. The size, they were cool, but I was so into the idea of the fans. But now, as I've played them more and more, Mileena has become my absolute OG go-to. Her drop kick from the ceiling, that's one that I master early, because if I'm playing with people who know that I'm a button masher, I can usually mistake when I'm going to use that and when I'm going to do other stuff. So I'm usually pretty good at getting away with throwing in a drop kick from time to time. I love her sigh, and I love what they're doing with her in the story. I'm very interested to see how they do this whole Tarkat disease, because now Baraka and the Tarkatans, instead of just being another one of the races of Outworld, they're repositioning it as this is a disease. It's an infection. You get infected with the Tarkat disease, and it warps your mouth and gives you these huge fangy teeth, and it gives you these bumps and ridges. And Mileena, it's revealed, has been infected with the Tarkat disease. And so they're worried that if people find out, she's not going to be able to take the throne. Katana is trying to protect her, but Mileena might be worried that Katana is going to double-cross her. And she's got this relationship with Tanya, and Tanya has always been a double-crossing character. I said earlier, I hope she gets to be heroic, but, I mean, they're trying to keep this secret, and her closest ally is Tanya. That doesn't bode well for her, because historically Tanya's always been a problem. So I'm so excited to see what they do with Mileena. I'm so excited to see what they do with this Tarkat disease. I think that is a fascinating way, rather than just saying that there's these clawed, bony, ugly, creepy things that exist. I love that they're turning it into almost this like zombie apocalypse type of thing, of like it's this infection and they get ostracized and banished. And maybe he's a little bit heroic himself of trying to get justice for his people that have been infected with this disease and just kind of pushed out of society. So I am super excited to see what they do with Mileena and the Tarkat disease. Mileena is my number one. She's been my go-to. I really tried when Mortal Kombat 2 came out to really get the Katana love, but Mileena was just so much easier to master, and she's been my girl ever since. Alright, that is the video. I hope you enjoyed. If you're a gamer nerd like me, even if you're not like a true gamer, if you're like me and you're kind of a button masher but you just love it, let me know down below who is your favorite Mortal Kombat character. Maybe you like one of the male characters. There's lots of great male characters. That's one thing that I think that Mortal Kombat does so well, is they've really developed their storylines and their lore. And I'm really interested in all the characters. I think there's male characters who are very interested. I just am always drawn to playing the female characters. So let me know down below who your favorite Mortal Kombat femme fatale is, or if you've got a favorite male character, let me know in the comments below. While you're down there, don't forget to give me that thumbs up to tell me you liked the video, or if you are a Street Fighter fan and you can't believe that I am shilling for this Mortal Kombat bullshit, then give me that thumbs down. Or if you're a Jade fan, oh, Jade fans are big mad right now. You can give me that thumbs down. It's all engagement. The algorithm isn't a piggy bitch, and neither am I. And while you're down there, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, join the family. I am so excited to have you, and hit that bell icon so you'll be notified of all future uploads. I try to get at least one video out a week, and sometimes, if you're very lucky, you might even get a bonus video. Ooh, fatality. If you'd like to chat, banter, or commiserate between uploads, all of my social media will be linked down in the description box below, including a link to my website, The World of Champagne, at janessajay.com. Thank you so much for watching. I love and appreciate all of you. I am hoping that I'm going to be able to stick to one video a week once that game comes out. I imagine I'm going to be spending a lot of time on that damn new Xbox. It better be worth it. This game better be everything that I dreamed of, because I had to upgrade my system and everything. So I'm going to lose a little bit of time, but I'm going to try to stay here because I do love spending time with all of you. I hope you enjoy the glam, gore, and the geek. And until I see you again, bye. And it looks like this new game, MK1, which is coming out in September, or if we're honest, might already be here. Itchy titty. Okay. But enough. And of course, there was the hidden fight where he was Reptile. He wasn't even called Reptile in the very first game, but there were certain things that you could do, and you could fight this secret boss, Reptile, who basically was just a palette swap to Green, and he had all the moves of Sub-Zero and Scorpion. So they didn't even give him his own moves at that point. They just colored him green and gave him the moves that Sub-Zero and Scorpion had, because again, they couldn't build a whole new character, so it was a way to reuse what they had. Shiva and Gore, who are... What the fuck are they? Shokan.